This episode of Android Weekly is brought to you by Domain.com. Now, it has gotta be the #1 pastime of every tech nerd out there, and that is geeking out about the new gadgets coming out just around the corner. So what are some of the best new phones coming out in the second half of 2015? Well, let's start off with the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. Recent rumors suggest, unlike the Note 4 and Note Edge of last year, this year's Note 5 and Note Edge 2 won't be exactly alike this time around. Talking specifically about the Note 5, the device will reportedly have a 2K or 4K Super AMOLED display, along with the Exynos 7422 processor and an in-house modem. It's also possible that the Note 5 could offer up an all-in-one EPOP solution. This means that the CPU, GPU, storage, modem, and RAM will all be combined into a single chip. We haven't heard any recent rumors regarding the Note 5's chassis, though the recent switch to glass and metal on the Galaxy S6 makes us wonder if Samsung will switch to more premium materials with the upcoming phablet. The switch to an all-glass design is bittersweet. On one hand, the phone feels much more premium, but on the other hand, Samsung needed to do away with the removable battery when it ditched the plastic in the S6. Samsung has been experiencing a ton of feedback, both positive and negative, from die-hard fans, so we're not sure what the company plans to do. It's also possible that the Note 5 could feature real leather back, similar to what we saw on the LG G4. Speaking about LG, let's talk about the LG G4 Note. LG filed for a trademark back in December for products called the G Pen and the G Scroll. While the descriptions for these filings were pretty vague, there has been some speculation that the G Pen could be a special stylus designed to compete with Samsung's S Pen from the Note series. As for the G Scroll, it seems plausible that this could be some kind of software feature that works in conjunction with the G Pen. Not many details have been outed regarding these two filings quite yet. We've also heard that LG is planning to launch a smartphone in H2 of this year that will stand above the G series. Whether the company is referring to a phablet or not, it seems entirely plausible that the smartphone will have a large screen, seeing as how LG just recently filed a patent for the name LG G4 Note. Now let's talk about the hardcore geek fan favorite, and that is the Motorola X 2015. Unlike other offerings from LG and Samsung, Motorola's recent flagship devices have featured a different philosophy. Instead of trying to cram the very best specifications on the market into the phone, the 2013 and 2014 Moto X devices were somewhat reserved on the spec front, most likely because Motorola wanted to keep the cost down to a price point that more users could afford. Combining decent specifications, a more affordable price point, the customization options of Moto Maker, and a vanilla Android experience, the Moto X 2014 was one heck of a smartphone. So what could change for Motorola in the next flagship? Well, according to a Reddit account by the name of Android Leaks, a new mysterious Motorola device has been spotted being tested on Verizon's network near the Chicago area. The phone is running Android 5.1 Lollipop and sports a Quad HD display. Another rumor claims that the new Moto X will have a 5.2-inch display, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor, 4GB of RAM, a 16-megapixel rear-facing camera, and a 5-megapixel front-facing camera, and a very respectable 3280 mAh battery. Both of these sources are relatively unknown when talking about leaks, so please take this list with a grain of salt. Now, I know that many of you are going to be excited about this. Let's talk about the OnePlus 2. While there is very little known about the OnePlus 2, Carl Pye recently revealed a pretty big hint on Twitter by asking how much people would be willing to pay for a Snapdragon 810 powered OnePlus 2. He further hinted that the company might be aiming at a price point of around $400. More recently, Cyanogen and OnePlus have parted ways, so we can expect that the OnePlus 2 to feature the company's own in-house Oxygen OS. So now what about Sony's new global flagship? Well, the Xperia Z4 looks almost identical to the Z3, but will it ever be available outside of Japan? Sony has kept mum on its plans for an international release for the Xperia Z4, leading to rumors that Sony might have a more substantial global flagship in mind, with the Xperia Z4 staying a Japanese exclusive. So what will Sony deliver next? It depends on which rumor you get behind. A new report from Evan Blass suggests that the Z4 will make its way outside of Japan and is headed to Verizon in the United States. On the other hand, a report surfaced last month claiming that Sony would resurrect the Xperia P series, creating a unique flagship spec device with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 processor, 3GB of RAM, 32GB of internal storage, a 5.2-inch Full HD display, and a 12.1 megapixel rear camera, a 5.1 front-facing camera, and a positively huge 4,240 milliamp hour battery. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in that happening at all, but we do got to talk about the growing giant that is Xiaomi, specifically the Xiaomi Mi 5. Among 3 other handsets displayed on the roadmap, Xiaomi's Mi 5 handset is set to launch sometime around November of this year. It's the most high-end device out of the bunch, featuring a 5.2-inch Quad HD display, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 processor, and a 20.2 megapixel rear-facing camera. We aren't entirely sure that the leak can be trusted 100%, so we need to take this spec list with a very big grain of salt. Now, there's a whole slew of rumors surrounding a possible new Nexus device by Huawei, whether that's a Nexus 4, a Nexus 5, or some sort of Nexus device, we don't know, but it is very likely, and that brings a whole new level of excitement. But I gotta tell you, now that I have a phone with a micro SD card slot with all this storage, I don't know, Nexus device kind of wouldn't satisfy me with just 32 gigabytes. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What phone are you looking forward to the most in the comments? I'd like to hear it. Now, I told you guys about soundguys.com, another site we have for all you audiophiles. But for those of you who love your tablets, you may want to check out another property that we have called tabtimes.com. And you notice we got the .com, because when it comes to building an audience and a business, the .com matters. Why? Because no domain name extension tells your story with the same level of trust as a .com or .net domain name. .com and .net domain name extensions inject credibility into your online presence. And who doesn't want more credibility? You can save 15% on domain name and web hostings when you use our coupon code ANDROID at domain.com checkout. Don't forget, 15% off when you use our coupon code ANDROID. When you think domain names, think domain.com. Thanks for watching, Android Army. I'm right here on Google Plus or Twitter, and I will follow you in the comments below. You don't want to forget about my brothers in Android, who are trying to be your source for all things Android. I shall see you all Sunday on Android Weekly.